She sneered. Your dumb little poems are a waste of time. Real men don't sit around scribbling feelings. After she tore up the notebook I'd filled with poetry for her, inspired by our first date. So I walked away. Now she's desperate, dumped, and I'm living my best life. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I'm Ethan, a 30-year-old librarian, and for 3 years, I poured my heart into my relationship with Mia. I'm not the loudest guy in the room, but I've always been steady, someone who shows up, who cares. Poetry's my outlet, a way to capture the quiet moments that mean something. My favorite was the notebook I started after our first date at a lakeside cafe, where Mia's laugh lit up the sunset, and I scribbled my first poem about her eyes reflecting the water. Back then, she'd smile when I read to her, even if she never really got poetry. Lately, though, that Mia was gone. Mia's in marketing, chasing a glitzy career, and I supported her through it, covering rent, cooking dinners, cheering her on through late-night study sessions for her master's degree. But the higher she climbed, the more she changed. She started hanging out with a new crowd, obsessed with nightlife and Instagram likes. Her snide comments stung more each day. Why don't you get a real job? Or poetry's such a waste, Ethan. I saw the toxicity creeping in, her eye rolls, her late nights out, but I loved her. I thought she was stressed, that the Mia who once held my hand by the lake could come back. I was wrong. The shift started when she met Jake, a nightclub promoter with a slick smile and a VIP list. She'd come home raving about his energy, how he knew important people. I'd catch her texting him, laughing at her phone in a way she hadn't with me in months. I didn't want to be the jealous guy, but her dismissal of everything I cared about, my job, my words, cut deep. I held on to hope, thinking maybe she just needed time to see me again. Then came the night that broke me. I'd spent hours on a new poem, hoping to remind her of us, of that first date when we were just two kids dreaming by the water. I found her in our living room, still in her club outfit, scrolling through Jake's latest party post. Mia, I said, my voice soft, I wrote something for you. Can I read it? She barely looked up. Poetry again? God, Ethan, grow up. I pushed through, reading a few lines about the lake, her laugh. That's when she snapped. She grabbed my notebook, her eyes cold, and tore it to shreds. She sneered. Your dumb little poems are a waste of time. Real men don't sit around scribbling feelings. After she tore up the notebook I'd filled with poetry for her, inspired by our first date. I stood there, heart pounding, watching the pages scatter like confetti. Mia, that was for us, I said, my voice steady despite the ache. You used to love this. She laughed, harsh and sharp. Love? Jake's out there living, throwing parties that matter. You're stuck in your sad little world. I saw it then, her contempt, her toxicity, but I didn't yell. I deserve better than this, I said quietly, walking to my room. She didn't stop me. That night, I lay awake, the image of those torn pages burning in my mind. I'd hoped she could change, but this was who she was. I wasn't her anchor anymore. I was her punching bag. A week later, Mia made it official. I came home from the library to find her packing her bags, her makeup perfect, a smug smile on her face. Jake was outside, leaning against his car, scrolling his phone like he owned the place. My stomach twisted, but I kept my cool. I'd seen her toxicity grow, her jabs at my job, my poetry, but I hadn't expected this. What's going on, Mia? I asked, setting down my bag. I'm done, Ethan, she said, tossing a shirt into her suitcase. I'm done with your quiet little life. Jake's got connections, energy, everything you're too soft to offer. Her voice dripped with disdain, like I was a child she'd outgrown. I stood there, the weight of her words mixing with the memory of my shredded notebook. You're leaving me for a guy you met at a club? I asked, keeping my tone even. She smirked, zipping her bag. It's not leaving, it's upgrading. You and your poems were holding me back from who I'm meant to be. Her logic was twisted, like my love was a cage, not a home. I thought of that first date, her hand in mine as I read to her by the lake, and the contrast made my chest ache. You cheated on me, I said, not a question. She shrugged. I deserve someone who lights up a room, not someone who hides in one with a pen. I could have argued, Could have pointed out the years I'd carried us. Rent, dinners, her late-night breakdowns over school. But I saw her clearly now. She wasn't the Mia I'd loved. Maybe she never was. My hope she'd change died with that notebook. I wasn't going to beg. "Take your stuff and go," I said, my voice firm but calm. "I'm done hoping you'll change." Her eyes flickered. Surprise, maybe, but she grabbed her bag and walked out to Jake's car. I locked the door behind her, my hands shaking but my resolve solid. That night, I sat on the couch, staring at the empty space where her things used to be. The silence was heavy, but not as heavy as her words. I flashed back to that lakeside cafe, her laugh as I read my first poem, her promise we'd always have each other. Now she was chasing some glittering fantasy with a guy who'd probably ditch her at the next VIP list. I wasn't weak. I'd seen her toxicity for months, held on to hope too long, but I wasn't her doormat either. I grabbed a new notebook, wrote a single line. "I'm enough." It wasn't much, but it was a start. Mia thought she'd broken me, but she'd only freed me to rebuild. The weeks after Mia left were a haze of quiet hurt. I moved into a small apartment across town, the kind with creaky floors and a view of a park where I could write. That torn-up notebook haunted me. Every ripped page a reminder of the Mia I'd loved, or thought I loved. I'd seen her toxicity for months. Her eye rolls when I mentioned my library job, her obsession with parties and status. I'd hoped she could change, that the girl who smiled at my poems by the lake was still in there. But when she tore up my work and ran off with Jake, that hope died. I wasn't weak, though. I'd let her go without begging, and that was my first step towards something better. I started journaling to make sense of it all. My pen scratched out questions. Was I not enough? Was she always this cruel? But the more I wrote, the clearer it became. Her toxicity wasn't my fault. I joined a poetry workshop at the community center, a place where people didn't mock words, but celebrated them. There, I met Sarah, a soft-spoken writer who asked thoughtful questions about my poems. She didn't push, but her quiet encouragement felt like sunlight after a storm. I also took a part-time gig teaching poetry to teens, pouring my energy into helping them find their voices. It wasn't about erasing Mia, it was about rebuilding me. One afternoon, I was shelving books at the library when Lauren, Mia's toxic friend, cornered me. Her perfume was as loud as her attitude. "Mia's living her best life with Jake," she said, smirking. "You're just moping over some stupid notebook." I set a book down, keeping my voice steady. "She cheated and destroyed something I loved. I'm not moping, I'm moving on." Lauren scoffed. "She says you were always too sensitive. Jake's a real man, throws parties, knows people." I looked her in the eye, my gentle nature firm. If that's what she wants, good for her. I know what I'm worth. I walked away, her words bouncing off me. I wasn't the broken guy she expected. At night, I'd sit by my window, writing poems about resilience. One line stuck with me. She tore my pages, but not my voice. I thought back to that lakeside cafe, Mia's hand in mine, her laugh as I read to her. The memory stung, but it also clarified things. I'd been loyal, pouring my heart into us, while she'd been chasing a fantasy. I wasn't weak for hoping she'd change. I was human. But now, I was done waiting for someone who didn't see me. I started submitting my poems to local journals, and when one got accepted, I felt a spark of something new: pride. I wasn't just surviving Mia's betrayal, I was growing beyond it. About 6 months later, Mia's glittering world started to crack. I heard through mutual friends that Jake, the nightclub promoter, had used her marketing skills to hype his club, promising her a power couple future. But when a richer influencer came along, he ghosted her, leaving her with nothing but a drained bank account and a bruised ego. Her social circle, once dazzled by her VIP life, turned on her when they learned she'd cheated on me. Posts started circulating online, calling her out for bragging about Jake while trashing me. She was alone, scrambling to save face, and that's when she started reaching out. My phone buzzed one evening with a text. "Ethan, I was wrong. Can we talk? I miss you." I stared at it, feeling nothing but calm. "No need," I replied. "I've moved on." The messages kept coming, first soft, then frantic. A voicemail followed. "Jake was a mistake, okay? You were my rock. I'm sorry, please." I didn't respond. Then came the anger, a text that showed her true colors. "You're nothing without me. You'll regret ignoring me." I blocked her number, her words proof of the entitlement I'd dodged. Lauren even tried calling, whining about how Mia is struggling, but I cut her off. She made her choice, I said. I'm not her fallback. The karma felt right, not because I wanted her to suffer, but because her actions caught up with her. Mutual friends, like our old classmate Tom, texted me apologies for defending her. We didn't know how she treated you, he said. I just nodded, focusing on my poetry and the life I was building. Mia's downfall wasn't my victory, it was her own doing. I'd spent months seeing her toxicity, hoping she'd change, but now I was free. My new poems were sharper, bolder, and I was teaching more workshops, even landing a small reading at a local arts festival. Mia's desperate texts were just noise, irrelevant to the man I was becoming. A year after Mia left, I stood on a small stage at a community arts festival, reading poems to a crowd of strangers and friends. My work had been published in a local journal, and Sarah, now my girlfriend, sat in the front row, her smile grounding me. She loved my poetry, not for clout, but for its heart. The festival, hosted by our mutual friend Tom, was packed with familiar faces, some who'd once taken Mia's side. I felt alive, not just surviving but thriving, my voice stronger than ever. As I stepped off the stage, I saw her, Mia, lingering near the snack table, her eyes darting nervously. She looked tired, her usual polish faded. I braced myself as she approached, her smile forced. "Ethan, your poems were nice," she said, voice sugary. "I always knew you were talented. Can we talk, just us?" Sarah glanced over, curious but calm. I kept my tone even. "Mia, I'm here with Sarah. My life's good now, and you're not part of it." Mia's face twitched, her charm cracking. "I messed up, Ethan. Jake used me, but you and I were real. Give me a chance." Her voice rose, drawing eyes. I thought of the torn notebook, her sneer, her betrayal with Jake. I'd hoped she could change once, but that was gone. "You tore up my notebook and chose someone else," I said, calm but firm. "I'm happy now, facts don't change." She flinched, then snapped. "You'll never find better than me." The crowd murmured, and Tom shook his head, no longer her ally. I just shrugged, turning to Sarah. "Let's go," I said, my hand in hers. As we walked away, Sarah squeezed my arm. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded, feeling lighter than ever. Mia's outburst was a faint echo, irrelevant to the life I'd built. I thought back to that lakeside cafe, the Mia who'd smiled at my words. That girl was a ghost, replaced by someone who'd never valued me. Now, I had Sarah, my poetry, my teaching, things that mattered. Tom later texted me. Mia left crying. Everyone saw who she really is. I didn't reply. She was a stranger now, and I was free. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.